Hello everyone. I, I want presentation about capital budgeting. Budgeting. In most companies, capital budgeting is one of the main sources of profit for the company because because with capital budgeting they can calculate the level of profit they will get in the long term. Budgeting is a term that we often hear when dealing with money, but often often the term capital budgeting is misinterpreted as a tool for calculating profits only. Even though capital budgeting is not just that. Therefore, we must really understand the meaning of capital budgeting so that the interpretation is not only limited to seeking profits but making investment decisions that will have a good long-term and short-term impact on the company. If in a company, a financial manager must really understand this. Capital budgeting is because a manager will decide the investment that can be invested to have a good impact on the company. In most companies, capital budgeting is one of the main sources of the profit at company because with capital budgeting they can calculate the profit when they get the long term. Capital budgeting is the term of that often we hear when dealing with money, but often the term capital budgeting is misinterpreted. And next, capital budgeting objectives. Number one, know the now know the meaning of capital budgeting. Number two, know the importance of capital budgeting. Number three, know the stage of capital budgeting. Number four, know the benefits of capital budgeting. Number five, know the approach of capital budgeting decision. Number six, know capital budgeting decision methods. Meaning of capital budgeting. Capital budgeting is show fixed asset used for production. Budget is a detailed plan the projects, cash inflows and project outflows. Cash outflows over several periods in the future is the entire process starting from the planning to making a decision to spend a certain amount of the funds, where the return period of the funds exceed 1 year. In the book of Bad Business Budgeting by Gunawan Adi Saputro and Yunita Anggraini, it is explained that Gargaran is a planning process that includes analysis and selection of the various capital investment. Investment is fixed asset and is invested funds that will be received back in full by the company over several years gradually. Installment through the depreciation, net cash flow, or process is the difference between the net cash flow outflow required for new investment and the net cash inflow as a result of new investment. The importance of capital budgeting is number one, capital budgeting decision will have an effect over a long period of the time so that the company lost its flexibility. Number two is effectively capital budgeting will increase the timeless and quality of additional asset expenditures are very important at capital budgeting stage. Number one, project cost must be determined. Number two, management must estimate the expected expected cash flow from the project, including the final value of asset. Number three, the risk of project cash flow must be estimated or using cash flow probability distribution. Number four, by knowing the risks of project, management must determine the appropriate cost of the capital to discount the project cash flow. Number five, using the time value of money. The expected cash inflow is used to estimate the value of asset. Number six is finally the present value is the expected cash flow is compared with their cost. And benefit of capital budgeting. Number one is to find out more detailed funding needs because the funds are tied to a period of more than 1 year, so that there no overinvestment to underinvestment. Number three can be more detailed and thorough, 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 because funds are increasing and in very large amounts. Number four, prevents errors and in decision making. Approach to capital budgeting decision. There are two main of approaches in making capital budgeting decision. These approaches are influenced by the company's financial condition. Number one, accept the accept project approach includes evaluating capital expenditure proposals to determine whether the proposal can be accepted or not. This approach is quite simple because it only compares the criteria of possessed by each other proposal with the minimum criteria that have been previously determined. And next, period method. The payback period is the period required to recoup the expenditure on the investment using the cash flow or process obtained the kind of like number one, very easy to apply, indicates project to require a long time to return the capital. Number two, measuring the liquidity of project in the liquidity condition of liquidity is an important factor for the company. Weakness. The weakness, number one, is not paying attention with the time, money, or value. Number two, not paying attention to cash inflow after the payback period is so it cannot be used to measuring. Number two, net present value or NPV. Investment appraisal method that use discounted cash flow or considering the time value of money is cash flow is the occur now with the cash outflow that will be received in the future. Where 10. Investment value at net cash flow in the period. R is discount rate. T is time period. And the example is take into the account the time value of money. Number 2, take into account cash flow over the life of the investment. And oh, okay, I will end the presentation. Thank you.